to the first episode of Waffle and Worms. Got a few things for you this evening, but we're going to start with feeding some worms while I waffle about some stuff. So, I hope you're all doing well this evening. Let me get some light on this. Right, so today we're just going to feed a couple of these tubs. I won't be feeding the new tub because that will be coming out in a video that's a little bit delayed because I'm having some trouble editing at the moment. But here we go. So one of the things I wanted to talk about this evening was really why autumn and coming into winter, in my opinion, is one of the best times to start worm farming. So one of the real big reasons and big benefits to this time of year is you've got a lot more consistency starting a worm bin indoors, and consistency is going to be your best friend. Let's see, can I get this chat up? There we go. So consistent temperature, consistent feed stock is all going to make it a lot easier to really understand what's going on in your worm farm. You'll notice quite often my feed stock is about the same. Diverse diet's important, but I seem to eat a lot of bananas and carrots, and the worms also enjoy quite a lot of bananas and carrots because of it. See, there is some of the last feed still here. Bit of onion, takes time to break down, but corn cob. Some of the stuff that lasts a little while longer. Let's get that back into the feed end. Welcome, welcome. On your way in, if you want to let us know where you're coming in from, I can give you a shout out, say hello from around the world. It is 8 PM UK time. Hopefully everyone's finished their dinner this time of night. Right, so let's say a bit of carrot, some banana. You'll also notice quite often there's some vermiculite in here. Hey Raptor, what's up, dude? Gotta diversify the content for people, throw a few lives out here and there. Some old banana, which I'll break up, make it a bit quicker for the worms to get in there. Do have some dry food today. And then our good old egg shaker. Lovely jubbly. Another thing I'll mention, some of you may have noticed, I have some old toast here. Now, quite often I get to the end of a loaf of bread and I don't want to be wasteful. So, I'll break some of that up in here. Not too much. Again, with heavy grains, you don't really want fermentation happening. So, let's cover that bad boy up. There we go. Less than 5 minutes to feed a worm bin while waffling some crap. So again, this time of year, if you're starting a worm bin, you might also notice you have a lot less demand for worm castings, which having a stockpile on hand or being able to develop a stockpile is probably one of the biggest benefits to starting a worm farm at this time of year. So you get the consistency of temperature, consistent feed stock, because typically people be eating a lot more root vegetables, store-bought stuff, but consistent feed stock, so you can get used to what your worms like and what your worms don't like. I'm not sure if I mentioned temperature, but again, if you're thinking about keeping worms, essentially they're a life form. Most of their metabolic rate and enzymes are going to work best around the same temperature as us. So if you're comfy, the worms are going to be comfy. So starting a worm bin indoors this time of year, you kind of get the benefit of having your central heating control the worm's temperature as well, which is going to benefit you dramatically. Where going outside at this time of year might not be hell, but there's just certain preparations that need to be made. Some worms. So, starting a worm bin this time of year again, just, I would say, if you're planning to start a worm bin, now is your time. So, get that all in there, a bit more of this going in. If you haven't seen the dry feed mix, I'll probably do a new dry feed blend in the next couple of weeks. This has lasted a fair while, but it is getting time to start making some more. We'll also be broadening the horizons with content and bringing you some Jadam and KNF methods for gardening in the springtime, as well as some fermentations over the winter to help prepare for your spring garden. So lots more of that kind of stuff on its way very soon. Right. Covering backs on. Now, I've got some books to flick through for you. Some of you may already know this book, Regenerative Soil by Matt Powers. Very, very complete book. If you're looking for a single source for pretty much everything how to do in the garden, this is definitely one to look up. And we're going to start by looking at an illustration of the soil food web. And you can see our worms right in the center playing a very vital role. And a little further on in this book, we actually have a nice description of vermicomposting, and a couple of different methods that I just want to briefly talk to you about. So there's this pallet vermicomposter, which I've never seen before. This is an absolutely brilliant idea. So you're taking your square meter composter, which everyone at this point is pretty familiar with, and removing 2 planks at the front face at the bottom. You're creating access so you can essentially build a continuous flow through worm bin with a huge amount of surface area. So you can imagine the population you can keep in that worm bin is going to be huge. This big book also has garbage can vermicomposter method, which is very similar to the bioreactor method you might have also seen on the channel. But I thought it was very worth bringing up some of these as well. So you see this, what they describe it as, worm juice compost. So I'm not the biggest fan of collecting worm juice. You'll see my bins work kind of by collecting their own juice, and I'll keep it all in the same system. But there are earthbox style systems which they can work incredibly well in. And then I have a final worm tub or worm composting system which I found fascinating. This one is in John Seymour's The New Complete Book of Self-Sufficiency. And in here, they have a very clever worm composter, simply made of car tires, which I found ingenious. So, obviously, you're just removing a layer at a time with the tires, but how many times do you see a tire at the side of the road and wonder, what could I do with that? And there's only so many swans you can have made out of tires before you start getting bored of that kind of thing. So again, a system that I'm probably going to have to try out, but I had to bring to the attention of the community because that's absolute genius. Oh, I did also have one more illustration. This one is from Teaming with Microbes by Jeff Lowenfeld and Wayne Lewis. It's again another very gardener-friendly book. Breaks down a lot of the complex terms into very digestible chunks. And in here we have a brilliant illustration of the worm's front end, from the mouth to the esophagus, the crop, and the gizzard. So the gizzard, at this point, I'm just going to mention that is why we feed our worms some kind of grit, because obviously there's no teeth in this diagram, and in the gizzard they will use grit to help grind down their food. So just a very short, sharp live today. If you've enjoyed this kind of content, let me know down below, and we'll see if we can maybe do this once a month. We'll see how it goes. But I say thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.